What's up, guys? My name is Chris. Welcome back to my channel. Today I got a little special guest for you, my buddy Royal. He has taught me a lot when it comes to business and automation of business. This man is not only a jiu-jitsu practitioner, but also enjoys flying, building businesses. His family, though, is most important, and he has automated his business to the point that he has complete freedom, and so do his employees. Very laissez-faire management style, just like myself, and has taught me an incredible amount about automation of business. I brought him on so he can share it with you. He's a humble dude. His name is Royal. I think you're gonna like this. All right, so I got my buddy that just recently spoke to my mastermind. I think it was last month, to teach them some really high level leadership slash relationship building stuff to the mastermind students. And him and I were talking about basically just bullshit back and forth about different things. And I think it was right about when he was making sure his kids and kids' friends weren't drowning in his pool. We were talking about him coming on the show. And the interesting part about it is I've rehearsed his last name now, I want to say 5 times. So let's try it for the 6th time, and let's welcome Royal Mortier to the show. And I really, 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 honestly am grateful for you being here, dude. I know your time is extraordinarily valuable, and you're going to educate us on why, what you've built, how you've built it, what you do, how you found freedom, which I find to be probably the coolest thing outside of all the other cool shit that you're doing. Dude, thank you for being here. What's going on, man?
Just another beautiful day here, man. Well, I don't know when this will air, but today is Memorial Day. So you and I both as veterans, it's a very humbling day, and we get to have some remembrance. I mean, not it's yeah, there's definitely lost some friends, lost some very lifelong friends, lost some brothers.
You were in Operation Anaconda, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I was my unit, I was Oregon Army National Guard, and my unit got activated, and I was non-deployable at the time. And so we did unfortunately we did our full workup, and they got sent over, and I wasn't. So it was there was a series of medical things I was having, and so unfortunately I was non-deployable at the time. But yeah, we were one of the first National Guard groups on boots on the ground. So in Afghanistan. So in Afghanistan and Iraq.
2001.
Yeah. So yeah, it was I mean, it was a long, that was, that was when they were, hey, you're going for 6 months, a year, and then it's like 2 years later, they're finally going, okay, now we'll send you home. Everything just got extended. So
How long was that tour?
I think between training and everything that the guys, again, unfortunately I wasn't with them, but I think overall training and everything, they were out almost 2.5 years from their family.
Wow.
2.5 years. Yeah, it was a long one. It was a long
Wow.
one.
That's big. Were you married then?
I was not married then. No. Yeah, I was in, like, luckily I had a backup plan, because it was, like I said, my unit got sent over, and I was kind of in this odd limbo. And so I went back to school during that time, and then I ended up actually getting out. And then after I finished college, I decided I wanted to go back in, and I tried to get back in, but they weren't. That was when Obama was in office, and they weren't accepting prior service regardless. It was basically you didn't re-up when you had the chance, so have a nice day. So
I got out as he came in, and I knew downsizing was going to happen. It's very typical of that side of the government to downsize military. And that's right about when they started booting everyone for being overweight, which I really wasn't too upset about, considering it's pretty easy to get by being overweight and not exercise in the military. The interesting thing about that is, in combat, if you're not in shape, like, you might not make it. And that's why I was pretty adamant about that movement. I actually supported the booting of people overweight, but fundamentally, yeah, they closed the doors and started booting everybody out around 2008, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I got out of college. I graduated in '09. So I got out, sorry, let's go over timeline. So you'd said '01. So I got out in June of '05. So my unit was coming in '05. And then I graduated in '09 and I went to re-up in early 2010. I out of school, I got a job with the essentially worked for the DoD. So I was managing military projects on government bases. In Nevada, Nevada had started a reserve unit. They were looking for combat engineers. I was previously 11B, so infantry. And then I got my degree in engineering. So going into combat engineering seemed like a easy step.
Little different.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I was a machine gunner, and it's like, hey, I was a machine gunner. Now I have a degree in engineering, and now let's blow stuff up and build roads and bridges. So let's have some fun. And they were looking for young officers. They just started a new unit. And so I was like, well, this could be a great opportunity for me to come in and have some experience, have some field experience, have, you know, infantry support. I've got, got all this. And I tried to get back in, and they were just like, no, can't let you back in. I fought that for probably about 6 months to try and get back in. And I worked for a colonel, and I actually went to the colonel that I worked for as a civilian and tried to have him assist with me. And then eventually I got a call from a brigadier general, and he basically let me know, like, dude, there's nothing we can do for you. There is no way we can let you back in. And I was like, okay. When somebody with a star on their lapel tells you it's not possible, you kind of just accept it for that. So yeah, you're not getting much higher. You're not going much higher than that. No. So that was unfortunate. I mean, otherwise, who knows? I'd probably still be in. I loved it. I really did. I loved it.
Do you think it was a good thing for your life that you weren't accepted fundamentally back into the military, though you wanted to go? Is that one of these situations where the door closing in front of you actually is a door opening?
Yeah, and that's there. I'll say there's been a lot of things in my life that I'd call it kind of almost a divine intervention, where there's a reason that door closed, and there was a reason for it. There's, I mean, going all the way back to my childhood, and even to literally just a couple of years ago, and heck, just to November of last year. I mean, there was a reason certain things happened that resulted in major life changes that were actually for the positive. So I would have, like, I would have loved to get him back in. I got back in, had that, the activity, the leadership potentials going in as a young officer and doing all that. But, and then just, serving with just great men and women that are just trying to do the best they can and make a difference in the world. So.
Yeah. I feel you on that one, man. I never tried to go back into the military. However, one of the first things I did when I got out of the military was try out for the state police in Connecticut. And I passed everything very well until the polygraph. And, the guy that was giving me the polygraph really wanted me to admit that I stole something while I was in Iraq. And he triggered me. I ended up getting pissed off, and I was like, bro, like, you were in the Air Force. What the fuck do you know about downtown Baghdad and stealing something? There's nothing to steal. Like, we're literally shitting in holes.
Right.
Like, trash is about the only thing you can steal.
Right.
And right. So the point is, the door was closed on me, and I was really upset about it. I really thought that I had failed. And, here we are many years later, 15 years later or so, something along those lines. And I'm actually super grateful, because the last job that I would want right now is to be a cop in the United States of America. Many of my friends are, my best friend is like, so I get it. But that door closing and that divine intervention of another door opening, what door or doors do you think that was for you, given that situation?
Honestly, if I had the opportunity to re-up, I probably would have never met my wife, or if I had met her, she wouldn't have wanted the lifestyle of being with a soldier. Her dad was military, and that was not something she was entirely thrilled to have that um, be. And she had said, seeing what her mom went through as being a military wife was extremely difficult, because the dad was always gone and in different deployments and stuff. And they were constantly moving, and granted, it was only reserves, but still knowing, hey, at any time I could get the call up to have to be deployed, that's a hard burden on anyone. And there were certain things that we had discussions about where it was kind of like she knew where her limit was. Now, with that said, I mean, since I've gone the route I have, especially with entrepreneurship and business ownership and stuff, that has its own level of difficulties, as far as my working schedule might be gone, my being gone, and other levels of it. Granted, I'm not in a field of combat, but geez.
No one's trying to cut your head off, Royal?
Yeah, right. Yeah, not not literally, definitely figuratively a lot of times. But I mean, right now we're in this transition period, and I mean, she's basically serving as a single mom, not to mention the office manager for my company for multiple months at a time.
For a while now, right? She's been with the kids for a while now without you.
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing, and I mean, even before that, it was, I kind of had another door shut, and it was a blessing in disguise. But I mean, we've had it where it's, I'd be traveling. I'd be traveling for weeks on end, and she's only got two to handle, to wrangle. But that's its own thing. And unfortunately, we don't live, for the most part, we weren't living in an area where she had a significant support network. That was one thing she talked about, where,
Yeah, it's big.
Where active duty, I would say families have a positive thing in there versus reserves, where I'd say like reserves and National Guard, when their families are deployed, it's even more difficult, because when you're active duty, you've got a military base to go to, and you've got a whole network of other wives and kids that are in a similar situation. When you're reserves or National Guard and you're deployed, whatever, like, as you're driving into some drill floor to, or, you've got a lot of times that we had of like the family wives that would come, group of 4 or 5 wives that would come together and try and have those family get-togethers, those family groupings. But it's way different than being right there on a military base where you just walk out and it's all wives and kids around you that are in the exact same situation, so they can commiserate with you and be your support network. So and military, I got to commend military wives, because I mean, they got to wear a lot of hats. They got to wear a lot of hats, and some of them are cut out for it and some of them aren't. So
that's for sure. And it sounds like your wife is a very strong individual and woman. I didn't know that she works with you, which it makes sense. Maybe you could touch upon, not downplaying her at all. Maybe you could touch upon the dynamic of working with her and your business. I mean, I know your business, however, everyone listening doesn't. So, and I want to foreshadow it a little bit. I want to foreshadow with this. Business owners generally get into business for one of a few things. One thing that I find very common, especially amongst the millennial generation, is freedom. And what you've created in what you're going to explain to us sounds like through primarily, and correct me if I'm wrong, primarily automation within the company, like bilateral, or I should say within the company's communication and with the customers. It sounds like you're pretty much free, bro. I mean, I know you run the show. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from you, but it sounds like you found freedom.
Yeah, well, and not just myself, but also with my team. So that's been the big important thing is, you've got to create that environment where it is a symbiotic, and it's what is it? I think Jeff Bezos talked about it. There's no such thing as work-life balance. There's making them work together.
Yep.
And that's where it's at. It's a situation of not only myself, but everybody in my team has the freedom and flexibility to live and work wherever they are. And we also provide that additional flexibility of, we have a general work schedule, but I also tell them, I am not the person that's going to harp on you on whether or not you got your 8 hours or 10 hours in today. I'm going to be the one that comes to you and goes, did you get these 4 projects done today? We talked about them this morning. We talked about them yesterday. They're on your list. You have a fully automated list of what your workload is every single day. Did you get them done? Yes or no? Well, you got them done? Cool.
Yeah.
I don't care if you leave at 3 o'clock.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, nobody's holding you here, and that's where it's at. And I mean, and then they also have, there's also other levels to that. I give my team members ample PTO. We're not on an accrual system. The day they start, they get a prorated. Yeah, they get a prorated level of PTO for the entire year. Boom. The day they start, boom, here you go. Have a nice day. And that's where it is. We provide them, we pay them typically well above median. And then the other thing is, they just get to work from home. There's no commuting. There's no, I got to pay for parking, got to buy lunch out, got to do this. So, as far as time and money, they're ahead on both. It provides that flexibility for them. And then they, like I said, they can do it from anywhere. One of my team members, he's on vacation for the next 2 weeks. Now, granted, I talked to him beforehand. I was like, you want to take your laptop with you? And if a day comes available that you guys don't have much planned, you work a day, or do you want to just be free for 2 weeks? And he's like, I'd rather just be free for 2 weeks. I was like, okay,
right on,
whatever. And he's like, but I'll take my laptop with me, and if something urgent comes up, I can do it.
Awesome.
So, but I mean, that's one of those things. And again, if he took his laptop with him and he worked even 2 or 3 hours that day, I'm not going to charge him a day of PTO. He worked that day. He gave me some of his time.
Right.
That's
generous, guys. And I don't mean to cut you off, but like, you're very generous to your employees, and it's a testament. And I have to accent this because you're about to explain your business and why you're doing extraordinarily well and have grown so fast. Being generous to your team, to those who deserve it, is a key in that. My team, we have no PTO, meaning there's whatever you need, fucking a month off, take it. I don't care. I care that you handle whatever you got to handle. And if you need help, I'll be the first one to help you. Legitimately happened a couple times last month. And that generosity is what builds loyalty. And that loyalty is what builds fucking empires.
Right. Yeah. And it goes both ways. And that's where I've realized pretty quickly, I have to be hiring, I have to be hiring mature people. I can't be, some people I can hire at kind of an entry level, but for the most part, I've had to hire people at a mature level that they understand the flexibility and freedoms and stuff that they have that they just flat out won't get from other companies. So they almost have to have been in a bad relationship with another job, to where when they come with me, they go, oh crap, like this is amazing. And they appreciate it, because I have hired people that just kind of, unfortunately, they were like, oh, well, I've got this freedom, I've got that, and I've got that. And I'm like, okay, well, where's this at? Oh, well, okay, well, you logged 10 hours on your time card. I didn't tell you to log 10 hours on your time card. I told you to log what you actually did. So when you log 10 hours, I expect to see 10 hours worth of work done, and I'm not seeing that.
That's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah, so that's, well, we give them our team members options of 4 10s or 5 8s. But then when the stuff really hits the fan, it's, hey, all hands on deck and let's go. So, yeah, so if I got somebody that's on a 4 10 schedule, okay, well, you're getting a 3-day weekend, and now you're coming to me and telling me that you went and partied and now you're not able to properly report to work on a Wednesday. Okay, like, how are we getting ourselves, or how are we getting ourselves in this situation? Was a 3-day weekend not enough? Do you need to take a PTO day? Like, what do we need to do here? It helps having more mature people. And when I say more mature, it doesn't mean necessarily experience. I mean, I just hired a guy that's a fresh graduate out of college in engineering, but he's in his late 20s. He went to college late. He had a whole other, or actually, no, I think he's even in his early 30s. I have another person that works for me that she graduated. She ended up getting pregnant right after graduation. So she was a homemaker for 12 years. And now she finds herself as a single mom. And now she's working for me. And she's like, this is fantastic. I can work from home. I get to see my kids every morning. I can break away to take them to school, to pick them up from school. I get to be home. Like, I don't have a commute. There's no, hey, I got to pay for a sitter. None of that. Like, yeah, that's a positive thing for them and for me.
So COVID, I mean, a lot could be said about COVID, but what I will say is something positive, which taught a lot of business owners you don't need necessarily 95% of the time, you don't need a brick and mortar. You don't need an office building. You really don't. And it sounds like you capitalize on that. I've worked remote primarily my entire career outside of owning some gyms, which was not remote, but that's not the point. The point is you have a good system built, and maybe you can expand on what you do and how you do it. I mean, I know what you do, but you gotta remind me.
Yeah, no worries. So my company is Pliris. Pliris is Greek for complete, and we basically do house plan management for builders, developers, and then we also have a whole house plan library that people can purchase house plans from, that we provide as
Oh, that's
complete.
cool.
We provide them as complete. So we make them completely code compliant. We bring them up all the architectural codes that are specific to that area, specific to that state, that county, that city. We do the structural engineering specific to the site. So when we're done with our project, we're giving the client a complete permittable plan set. So we're very versatile in that. Our focus is strictly home builders. That's all we do. That's all we do. And it's made it very versatile. So, we're on a regional growth strategy right now, as we've broken up the United States into particular regions, and we're basically focusing on our foundations and developments and knowledge within those regions. And it makes it to where it's nice. I've got my base foundation of people that are focused on the work we have coming in right now. And then I always keep kind of an extra staffing that focuses essentially on our growth into our other regions. It allows us to be basically a subject matter expert on something that's very important, which is home construction. We all need places to lay our heads at night. And home ownership is kind of inflation proof, because properties, as inflation occurs, properties go up in value. So, that's a benefit there. So home ownership is one of the best financial decisions you can be making. So the more homes we have to build and create, the better our society is. So it's right now, it's been a very, very versatile, good business for us to be in. And we basically, and with that, like I said, we're 100% remote. I used to have a brick and mortar engineering firm previously, where we had 4 offices, and then we also had some people that worked remote. There's a lot of travel. It was an odd mix, because we had people that worked remotely and people that commuted into the office, and so you were kind of always in this battle, I guess is the way to put it, of how do you manage the people that are remote versus how you manage the people that are in the brick and mortar office. And honestly, going 100% remote with our team is with Pliris is probably the best decision I've made. It allows for uniform leadership and management. We have the same process for every project that comes through our door.
Oh, cool.
And we built out our own internal PM system, project management system, that, you know, we kind of got the one client that was willing to give us a shot. And then we got a second, and we kind of refined it and built it out and slowly worked out all the kinks.
Yep.
And then we got a third, and then we got a fourth, and shoot, now we're serving 7 builders. We're serving 7 builders, doing about 100 house plans a month. And, you know, basically now we're just taking that exact model, and now we're going to start reproducing it in region to region to region. So, yeah.
You're being very analytical, typical of like an engineer.
I am an engineer. Also, yeah, that's what we do.
Funny story. When I got to grad school, I did an MBA, and I'm a numbers guy, right? Like I'm the entrepreneur, you know. The thing about MBA programs is it's not business people. It's nurses, it's cops, it's engineers and shit. And they like paired me with these engineers, and we were in like trigonometry or calculus or some stupid shit that we didn't need. And I wasn't really paying attention in the first place, but I was like, all right, guys, I'll handle the numbers. And the engineers were like, sit the fuck down.
Yeah.
Sit down. Yeah. And I was like, no, you don't understand. They're like, no, you don't understand. Have you ever met an engineer? And I'm like, no.
Yes.
So I learned.
Yeah.
Super analytical, but you're also being very humble. I think that I respect that, you know, from one humble guy to another. We don't allow our veteran status, our military status define us. We're not cocky. We're not, well, I mean, we can have some ego, but we're not like, you know, cocky. I think a little bit of ego is good, but anyways, that's not the point. The point that I'm getting at is being super humble and producing 100 houses a year. So help me with my math. 100 houses a month. Help me with my math, but that's over 1,000 a year.
Yeah. We'll do.
Pretty incredible.
I think this year, I think we'll end total houses will end probably we'll actually end at probably an average of over 100, over 100 a month. We're kind of we get them in surges, which kind of sucks to a point, but you know, because sometimes it's we call it the fire hose or the trickle. When we're on a trickle, I always have a nice big to-do list for all my team to be working on to improve the things that needed to be improved on when we were fighting through the fire hose. So, or trying to drink from the fire hose. So it's a good, you know, it's a good balance there, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit close to 1,600 houses this year. So yeah, we got a 700 house subdivision coming up. So,
so speaking of drinking through the fire hose, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a good segue into one of the typical questions that I ask every guest on the show, which is tell me, so you have experience clearly. Tell me about a big problem that you dealt with and like within the company, or, you know, doing business or business related as an entrepreneur, and how you went about solving that problem and the outcome. So do you think you can enlighten us a little bit?
Oh boy. You know, one of our biggest problems, I would say, is trying to making that leap to being 100% mobile. You know, and eventually it just became a situation of hiring the right people and being willing to make that investment. And, you know, I'll explain it as this: is I got brought on at my prior company. I got brought on when they were honestly at a point of almost closing their doors, and I got thrown to the fire, is the easiest way to put it. And then I just had to figure out how to fix it. It was a no fail option. You know, there was not a way that I could allow things to fall apart. And so you really just had to figure out a way to make it succeed. And in doing that, I saw that unfortunately, because it was a company that had been struggling for multiple years, we had a lot of people there that were massive penny pinchers.
Well, they were trained that way.
Right. And where it was just a situation of, you had to look at it and go, okay, guys, there is an investment that can be made here to make this better. But then it was fighting tooth and nail for every dollar to make that investment. But then once that investment started to see the returns, then everything was grand and fine. But if that investment didn't see returns, then it was, what the heck did we waste our money on? And so, with that, I've got two principles I've kind of taken with that is, one is the baseball analogy of who's the best batter. Well, the best batter is typically a batting average of around 300. Well, that means he's only successful 30% of the time.
He's consistent though.
But he's still the best batter,
right.
And we apply that same thing to business where, hey, you're going to have those failures. You're going to have those investments that don't turn out. You're going to have those things, but how can we turn those things around? Well, making consistent small investments and improvements is how we get those home runs.
Yeah. Build the momentum.
Exactly. And so if I've got 10 things I'm investing into and only 3 or 4 of them succeed, okay, well, I learned from those 5, 6, 7 failures, but I got 2 or 3 that succeeded. And then eventually you start learning more and more, and your batting average improves in the business lineup of it. So biggest problem up front, obviously, was just the making the investment to find the right things to invest in. And the other problem there is, the biggest thing again, prior experience, learning, it was invest in the right people, but invest in them the right way. The biggest problem with my prior firm was because we were capital poor, we gave up equity. And that was the biggest mistake.
I hear that too often, man.
That was the biggest mistake you can make.
I've never given up equity.
Yeah, exactly. So I made the investments in the people, and I found the capital to make the investments. And, everybody's like, well, where'd you get the money? It's like, everybody has money. Everybody has money. Yep. It's, what is your pain tolerance for getting that money?
Oh yeah.
And because I can tell you right now, the pain tolerance for getting that money to make the right investments to progress is way, way less painful than giving up equity in the long term. And that's kind of where I'm at is, but he's like, well, I met with a group that is backed by a, if I say multi-trillion-dollar hedge fund. So, there's only a couple of those.
Oh, T's?
Yeah. With a T? Yeah, with a
T.
Yeah, with a T. There's only a couple of those.
You have my attention.
Right. And so I met with a group, and one of his first questions with him was, well, how are you funding this? I'm like, myself. And he was like, why are you funding yourself? I'm like, because I don't give up equity. And he's like, well, there's this and there's that and there's that. I'm like, cool. And he's like, he just took a major, $5 or $10 billion investment from this hedge fund. And he's like, well, I got from here to here, and I did this and I did that. And I'm like, cool. What do you own? You don't own anything. They own you. Yeah. And whereas what I'm building is like, I have the full flexibility to where I build this thing up well enough and I go, hey, I want to sell it. Cool. I can sell it in part ways. And, and I've got something, but I don't need to sell it because I love what I do every single day. And that's where it doesn't matter. I'll continue to do it every single day. And I have the flexibility, the life flexibility. I built in the freedom, not for only for myself, but for my entire team, to where it doesn't, it's a full, I get to do everything I want to every single day. And so do they.
So I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah. And so do they. And so it's not, I guess the biggest, in answer to your question, what's the biggest problem is learning the hard way. learning that the biggest problem in business is actually you don't have any problems. You just need to
figure it the fuck out.
Figure it out and
realize. They're all lessons.
Yeah. And I mean, also understand that whether or not this is yours, whether or not this is for you, because if, there's a lot of things that you can bear on your shoulders, but you also need to be able to go, okay, I know I don't know everything. Who do I bring in? Who can I bring in that does? And, I mean, that is the other part of it is, knowing what, trying to figure out to know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So, and then bringing in the people that do.
And the wise man understands that he doesn't know much,
Right.
but problems, the way that I teach it in my book as well, is problems are great.
Yeah.
You make a mistake, awesome. What's the
Yeah.
lesson? What did you waste your time, energy, resources, and money on? What are you learning to never do again? And more importantly, how are you learning not to do it again is my perspective. But I go over it in depth on numerous different channels and books and so on and so forth. And we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you. And I am going to ask you one last question, but before, which is going to be, the best piece of advice you learned and implemented. However, before we get there, I think it's important that if anyone wants to find you, where might they find you on socials and or your website if you're looking for that type of plug?
Yeah, no problem. So Pliris or Pliris pens. So on websites, you can go to pliris.co. That's just co, not .com. And then for our plan library, you can go to plirisplans.com. And then from there, we actually don't own any of our plans. We basically have a small sampling of the popular plans from the house plan websites that we help promote and support. And so with what we have on our website versus their library, we have about 4,000 house plans to choose from there. And so that's our main stuff there. On Instagram, Pliris Plans. We're also on YouTube. And you can find us all through there. We have a Facebook. We don't have Twitter or anything like that. But yeah, everything's linked on our website. You go to our
Twitter
website.
Still around?
Huh?
Is Twitter still around?
Yeah, yes, Twitter.
I thought it would have blown up like CNN, no?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's a lot of bots. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be the big thing, huh?
Right.
Shit. And I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you get all the channels plugged?
Yeah, you go on our websites and there's links to all of them at the base of the page. Is there.
Backlinks. Okay. So now that we know how to get a hold of you, which I encourage anyone who's a general contractor, real estate, what are some other industries that should be following you?
Yeah, I mean, well, we also service homeowners. So, people that are looking to build a home, biggest thing I say is people are like, well, I want to build a custom home. Okay, well, custom homes account for approximately 1% of all homes that are built. And I had one major builder that I talked to, and he was like, custom homes are the lowest end of the learning curve. Because you're basically saying, well, yeah, forget all those lessons that have been learned by all these other house designers and all these other builders. I'm going to build it and basically learn.
Sounds costly.
Right. It's very costly. So what's nice with ours is you get a base plan that you can work from, and that is a home that's actually been designed oftentimes multiple years ago, typically by an actual architect, and that home's actually been built. And then they've gone through and they've refined it and they've done these things to it. And what's nice is a lot of our house plan websites, they do what are called collections, which are essentially house plans that are very similar in plan, but they've been revised with different elevations. And those base floor plans or floor plans have been refined and reconfigured to things that actually work, things that actually flow. Huh. And what people actually like.
Interesting.
And, to your livelihood. I mean, if you're one of those people that, hey, money is no object, sure, go ahead, go get an architect, drop 30, 45, 50,000 on getting a house designed. Then that architect gives it to an engineer who's going to charge you $10,000, $15,000 to engineer it. So then you can go have this house that's standalone to your own special specifications. Where we're different is that we have a house plan. It's already been designed, already shows that it works. You can adjust how much you need for square footage, what you need for garage space, what you need for rooms and bathrooms, and you get options. And then you can take one of those options and go, great, here I am. Here's what I like, but I want the kitchen to be a little larger. I want the master bedroom to be larger. Oh, I want a covered patio outside my master bedroom. And we can make those minor tweaks. And what you wind up with is, instead of spending, 45, 50,000 and months of your time with an architect, and then more time with an engineer, and then, contractor doing all these things, we're able to kick out a plan in a matter typically of less than a month, and typically also under $10,000, where we're getting you to a full permittable plan set. So and it's, in the end, it's a custom home to you.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
It sounds like it to me. And my question to you is, I'm getting ready to build a garage with a loft up top. I don't remember the exact name, like ABT or something.
ADU.
ADU.
Accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah. I'm gonna house mom up there. And
yeah, we have plans.
You got plans for that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sweet. All right.
Yeah,
See,
the
beauty of networking.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I had no clue that this is how your industry works. And it's just great to be able to network and get to know people and understand what they do and feed them business fundamentally, because there's enough bread for everybody on the table. It really is. It's just a matter of like doing good by people. And I appreciate you taking the time to explain all of this and educating me and everyone listening. And before we close this out, because I know you got your family in town, and even though we didn't get to talk about your trip coming up, which is pretty awesome. Maybe on part 2, you could tell me how it went.
Yeah.
But what about, all right. So if there was, you're a knowledgeable dude. If there was one piece of advice, right? Like the best lesson that you ever learned via advice that you could offer to others who might be hungry for this type of knowledge that really helped you, man, like really, really changed the game, what would it be?
Oh boy. Be strict with who you keep around you.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, keep a standard. Don't just keep a standard for yourself, keep a standard for the people you keep around you. And unfortunately, that means being able to not necessarily burn a bridge with the people that fall below that standard, but be able to move on from them and realize like, hey, I needed to grow, and I'm growing. And I like, so many people get attached. They get attached to something. They get some emotional value to them, and it restrains them from the growth that they really need.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all, I love old cars. And I mean, I've been shopping for an old Mustang for a while as kind of a project car. Can't tell you how many people I've connected with that have old Mustangs that old Mustang has sat for 10, 15 years, if not 20 years. They've never done a thing with it, but they will not let that thing go. And it's like, well, unfortunately, too many of us do that with people. Too many. I mean, we do that with other stuff in our lives. And
put people on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Fear of rejection
is, just say, hey, shake hands, part friends, and we're going to thank you for getting me here, but it's time I need to move on.
Which is a healthy way of ending a relationship, or at least not closing the door, but leaving it ajar is what I like to call it. And it happens with employees too, right? Or personal friends, or even family. That's some of the toughest, but it happens. And when we have to remember that's an excellent piece of advice. We have to remember that the other person is only going to be able to perceive and process what's being said to them from their emotional state at that very moment, in the development of their emotional intelligence at that very moment. So for instance, you talk to me at 37 years old, who has a high level of emotional intelligence, a high level of awareness internally and externally, the chances are I can process things like well. And if Royal, you were like, hey, Chris, listen, it was great getting to know you, but listen, dude, I got to go. Like, there's no room for you in my life. I'd be like, you know what, bro? I respect that, man. I understand. And I wish you well. However, a lot of people, 95, maybe 99% of people can't see it that way, because fundamentally they don't have emotional intelligence, they don't have awareness, and they're selfish.
Yeah. Yeah, it is difficult. And, and I mean, well, it's like, with friends and stuff like that. I mean, it's one thing, I guess, when you have a really tight friend circle and then you're like, hey, I need to start, moving on from that. And it's, unfortunately, it's a situation of your weakest link kind of holds back. And a lot of times you'll see these friend groups that they grow and they prosper together and they do amazing things. But each of them has their own individual piece they bring to that friendship zone, that friendship circle.
Harmonious relationships.
Oh, definitely. But when you get that tight friendship circle of like, well, we're built off memories and good times, those are little wild friends. Those are the friends that they're friends when times are good. And
fair weather is what I call them.
Yep. So fair weather, little while, whatever you want to call them, but it's a situation of their adversity in a friendship, adversity in life really shows you who the important people are around you. So, and that doesn't apply to friends. That also applies to family.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We didn't even get into that. When you get fucking low, get like rock bottom low. I mean, really, and I've been there a couple of times in my career, actually. It really puts into perspective who is there for you. And it's good to go through those things so you can shed the unneeded relationships and weight out of your life to fill it with good relationships of people that will support you and be there for you, and so on and so forth. Like when you accidentally watch one of your kids, swim in the pool and maybe go under for a little too long, and you need a friend to come down there and help you. And hey, Chris, I need some fucking help. All right, bro, I'm booking a ticket. I'll be right there. Right. We're not joking about children's death. I probably shouldn't have gone that deep. However, the point is friends, right? Yeah. Friends. And good ones. They're a rarity. So I think that's a good piece of advice, man. And is there anything else that, I mean, it's a great piece of advice, but is there anything else that you want to add before we close this up?
Oh, I mean, the other thing with the friendships is that what I'd say is there's two impossibles in life: saving someone from themselves and getting a politician to admit they're wrong. So those are the only two. And so, also as a friend is sometimes you got to let your friends struggle and get burned, or swallow a little water if they're in the deep end, and until you jump in to help, because that's that's the other part of it. But no, this has been great. Really appreciate you having me.
Super knowledgeable. I really look forward to your increased brand presence, personal and through Pliris with a P.
Pliris.
Pliris.
Yeah.
Pliris.
Pliris. Yeah.
Pliris. I think branding is a cool thing to do. We recently just got audited by a SEO company who said that it is the best brand they've seen, and they gave us a B+ behind Amazon, if I remember correctly. And I was like, oh, cool, because I have a branding expert on the team.
There you go.
But the point is, building a brand and getting the brand out there is really, it's time consuming, but to me, it's a lot of fun. So dude, if you ever have any questions on it or want to bounce it off me, happy to help you, man. And I wish you lots of luck on your upcoming trip. I know I'm going to talk to you, but
Okay.
fundamentally sending you off well. And I know this is big for you. I know it's you being around your family more so than you have been in maybe the past quarter or two is really important to you. And closing out the chapter in Washington and opening the chapter in Florida.
Yeah. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice. A little warmer down there.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, dude. So thank you for your time, man. And I appreciate you stopping by.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, guys, that's what I got for you today. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something. If you did learn something, drop it in the comments below, smash that like button, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.